previously on Dragon Ball Z.
There we are. Here are all of the movies from my list. Whoever gets to the end first will be the first movie I watch. Alright, here we go. Alright, they are... Out in the front right now is The Hit. Okay, so they need to swirl around into here. It's anybody's game at this point, although right now in first place is Werner Herzog Eats His Shoe. Already down here. They've come out, they're going down here. Up front, Werner Herzog Eats His Shoe, followed by Nightmare Alley, which got remade somewhat recently by Del Toro, if I recall correctly. Oh, Night on Earth is out. Seven Samurai appears to be making some moves, but honestly, it just counts who's closest to the end, not who's like furthest along in the track. So, it's probably just the fact that these are loops, this does screw up things a little bit for determination. Out front is still Werner Herzog Eats His Shoe, and Nightmare Alley in second still. It's looking like Werner Herzog Eats His Shoe. Alright, everybody else still coming in. We got Fellini's Satyricon, Kiss of the Spider-Woman, The Linguini Incident, which stars David Bowie, Moonrise Kingdom, The Third Man, Half a Loaf of Kung Fu, Monsieur Hulot's Holiday, and that's everybody. The winner, Werner Herzog Eats His Own Shoe, 36. Okay, final results. Werner Herzog Eats His Own Shoe, followed by Nightmare Alley. If I may look these up real quick here. Werner Herzog Eats His Own Shoe from 1980. Made it onto my movie list for being less than 80 minutes long. It's considered a documentary. It's 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb, so that's going to be amazing. It's 22 minutes long. So maybe I'll also watch Nightmare Alley. That's something that can happen. Nightmare Alley from 1947. Crime noir thriller. 7.7 out of 10. So even better than Werner Herzog Eating His Own Shoe. 111 minutes. The two of them together, just over 2 hours. That's not bad at all. Okay, I'm just going to do this without any script or anything. I watched these two films. So, the first one, Werner Herzog Eats His Shoe, was fresh in my memory because I watched it like 2 hours ago. Easier thing to do, I just did that, after work and before stream. True to what it is, Werner Herzog, he shows up at a place, they take his shoes, they stuff them with garlic and onions, and boil them in duck fat, and spice with rosemary, and they just boil them for a few hours, and he takes one of them and he cuts some strips off and he eats it. He does, however, opt to not eat the sole of the shoe because it is, quote, rubbery and sticky, and when you eat chicken, you don't eat the bones. Totally understandable. Nobody even expected him to follow through on this, apparently. So what happened was, he made a bet. So, American filmmaker Errol Morris was working on a film called Gates of Heaven, which is about the pet cemetery business, apparently. I've not seen it, but it was, I guess, in production hell or something, and Werner Herzog was like, hey, if this movie ever actually comes out and goes to theaters, I'll eat my own shoe. And the movie came out, and he just calls them up and was like, alright, so where am I going to do this? And they're like, wait, are you serious? He was serious, and he fucking did it. And at the end of the whole production, they encased the remains of the sole of the one shoe, and the other shoe that he didn't eat, in a block of solid acrylic, and I guess it's probably on display somewhere now at this point. The whole thing was the documentary that was filmed about the whole thing, about 21 minutes, directed by Les Blanc. In between snippets of preparing the shoe and eating the shoe, he also, like, talked about the film business and whatnot, and somebody asked him about another bet that he made about a different production, where he said that if a different movie came out, oh, there it is, right there. He also, God, he was working on a film called Even Dwarves Started Small, and he agreed to jump into a cactus patch if filming completed without further incident. And as he stated in the documentary, he still has bits of cactus needle in him. I have seen videos of people jumping into cactus. Don't do it. He said it wasn't so... They're like, oh, so do you often make self-destructive bets? He's like, well, it's not self-destructive to jump into a cactus. I beg to differ. Werner Herzog, what a strange individual, ate his shoe. Wild stuff. The second film we watched was Nightmare Alley. Ironically, we did this first because I watched it, with my partner because I was like, hey, you like horror? And I've seen the remake of Nightmare Alley that came out a couple of years back that Del Toro did, and so I had it in my head that, oh, this is like a horror film. They like horror, so let's watch this thing together. So, over Discord and whatnot. It's not really horror. It's not horror at all, really. It's a noir film. It's just the fact that Del Toro was attached to the remake that had me like, oh, this is like horror. Whoa. It's not. I will say this. The original film wastes no time getting into things. The one that Del Toro did was very much... Bradley Cooper shows up at the circus, and he's looking around, and he's trying to find work, and he talks the boss into hiring him. In the original, they show him walking around and looking at the geek show, and he's just like, well, time to get to work here at the circus where I work. He's already got a job. He's already doing the act. He's part of the act with Lady Xena, not the warrior princess, the psychic. It's honestly, there's something to be said for brevity there. It's like when the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies came out, and everybody breathed a sigh of relief that we weren't getting a third Spider-Man origin story. Sometimes, you don't really need an explanation for why does this guy have a job. It's like, that's just something people do. Yeah, I don't need the background story for why you like hamburgers. Nobody needs to explain why Wimpy from Popeye likes hamburgers. He just does. That's a thing that's normal. God. Okay. The main character, the protagonist of the film, Stan Carlisle, played by Tyrone Power, died tragically young of a heart attack. Seemed like a real up-and-comer based off of what I've seen of him. They had him working opposite Basil Rathbone in a Zorro film, so you don't get that sort of billing without having something going on, and then the fact that he just happened to die at age 44 is just a little bit out there. But it's so weird. They're calling him like a kid in the film. This guy he looks in his mid-30s. There's no way. He's talking to a police officer. He's like, "Oh, you look old enough to be my father, a man in his prime." I'm like, "How old are you?" No. How old are you supposed to be? No, he looks at least 35, meaning he's talking to a guy who's 55, and he's saying, "Oh, you're in the prime of your life." It's like, no, that guy is 10 years away from retirement. No. I know that we have this thing where, like, they're always casting, like, 20-somethings to play teenagers in TV dramas. And I know I've seen this sort of thing before in the past. If you've ever watched the original The Blob with Steve McQueen, holy shit. He's supposed to be a teenager. No. This guy, he's a full-ass adult. There's no way. I thought it was amusing that his character referred to himself as being Scotch. I have heard that in exactly one other place instead of Scottish. It was a stand-up bit that Stuart Lee had done where he's calling himself Scotch through like the whole first half of the set because he's doing this bit in Glasgow, so it's got a very Scotch audience, you know, and so he keeps saying Scotch, and somebody in the audience finally goes Scottish, and he just stops mid-sentence and goes, thank you for correcting me. It was an error that I'd made on purpose for comedic effect, but it's good to see there's such little trust for me in this audience. The whole thing segued into a wonderful bit about Braveheart and how terrible Mel Gibson is. Stuart Lee, fantastic. Sidetrack. This is very much a tangent, but Scotch was just a memory hold for me. Everybody smokes so much, but I get a feeling that I'm gonna be, if I'm watching these older movies, I'm gonna be getting that a lot. Like there's just straight up a scene where he's like, hey, give me a cigarette so I can have a talk with you. You know, they're like, oh, make yourself comfortable, when the doctor will be in to see you. He's like, all right, make myself comfortable. Time to have a smoke. And I'm like, if this was in my office, my doctor's office, I would be like, excuse you, I have medical texts in here. You're making my books all smell like smoke. You're making my room smell like smoke. But then I remember, this is the 40s, everything smells like smoke everywhere. And the air is full of lead, so nobody cares. Oh. The big thing with the film is, early on, when Stan is watching the Gimp Show. Not the Gimp Show, the Geek Show. This isn't Pulp Fiction. He's watching the Geek Show at the circus, and he's like, what makes a guy get so low in life that he's willing to do that kind of work? And it's a very valid question, you know, it's a job where you need to, like, they keep you in a cage, and then for the act they let you out, and you will kill a chicken with your mouth. You bite its head off, and that is gruesome, grisly stuff. Who would agree to do that? I don't know. Couldn't be me. And then by the end of the film, Stan is just so... He's turned to the bottle. He is absolutely a wreck. He has lost his entire life. Everything he had that had meaning is gone. And he's trying to get work with the circus. And the guy in charge of it is like, oh... we don't have an opening for, you know, a cold reader or a stage magician, but we do have opening for a geek. Can you do geek work? And Stan just says to him, Mister, I was made for it. He's willing to do it. He's finally figured out what could possibly make somebody sink so low as to take this job. And this is... So this is part of the problem, and I wonder if this might have been like an issue with the Hays Code, because this did come out in 1947, was after that scene, Stan, he escapes from the Gimp cage, Geek cage. I'm going to keep doing that, aren't I? He escapes from the cage, and he's running around, and he's making a ruckus, and he's hitting things with a pipe, and the other circus performers are like, oh, the geek got loose, we gotta go get him. And so they're chasing him down. And his wife is just inexplicably there, and she's just happens to have come to work for the same circus. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's Stan! Stan, come over here! I finally found you! I've been looking everywhere for you! And they end up like they're hugging, and that's how the movie ends. And I get the impression that the Hays Code must have just said, you gotta have some kind of happy ending on this. I think there's a few things with the Hays Code involved here. Happy ending on this, and also, like... They had to keep... So the whole premise of his act is that he's doing like mentalism stuff. He's cold reading people. You know, there's people doing tarot readings. Although since this was the 40s, they didn't know how to pronounce it, so the lady called it a tarot deck, and we laughed so hard. They read the cards completely wrong. They played the death card, and they're like, oh no, someone's gonna die. It's like, that's not what it means. But like, come on, no research was done. But every time, I think they had to counter that out because everybody kept talking about how Christian they were. And, like, I get that it was a more pious time in America's history, but at the same time, it felt really, really forced. She's like, like, I couldn't do that and face God. I couldn't do it, Or like, when he's trying to talk somebody up at his stage act, he's like, the young man your daughter is seeing, he's a good Christian man. He goes to church 7 days a week, and he practices his faith in everyday life. And it's like, oh, that's so, like, it's not enough to say, oh, he's a good dude. It has to be like, he goes to church 7 days a week. It's like, well, that just means he's not around much now, doesn't it? I don't know. But the whole thing with the ending, with where he gets back with his wife, and it seems to be like he's gonna recover, and there they are. That didn't happen in the Del Toro film. The Del Toro version just ends with Mr. I was made for it, and then he's the new fucking geek. A very bleak and grim ending, which is what this character deserves because he's kind of a scumbag. The whole movie, he's taking advantage of women. He's taking advantage of a psychiatrist to steal basically her patient files, to blackmail the city's like wealthy. He's a con artist. And the fact that they were just like, well, let's make him a little bit, let's give him some redeeming qualities. Maybe he's not so bad. Maybe he's a thief with a heart of gold or something. The newer one from 2021, Bradley Cooper, they knew, this is not a good guy. This is kind of a scumbag. Let's play that up. Let's do it. Let's reinforce that he's doing this 100% for himself. And so at the end, when he's lost everything, even the other people around him, it really hits home because he deserves it. You almost feel bad for the Tyrone Power depiction of the character because he's been doing bad shit. He's been doing very bad shit. But you, like, I don't know, they make him like he switches it off, he switches off being an asshole. And that's not the sort of thing that you can really do. I don't know. It felt strange to just be like, to just flip-flop between, just here's a jerk, here's a con man doing bad things to people, and here he is with his wife, who he's showing affection for, in so much as you could show affection. I think they kissed, once through the film. But yeah, no, it was a whole thing. If they had to tack on that original ending for the because of the Hays Code, I get it. The Del Toro version, kind of I'm hesitant to use the word masterpiece. I don't know that I would say masterpiece. It's a very entertaining watch, and I think I prefer it to the 47 version. That's just me. But yeah, that is the two films I watched this week. One of them almost 2 hours, one of them almost 20 minutes. And on Friday, I will be selecting my next two films. I'm recording this before my stream. I don't know what's coming. We'll find out now, won't we? In the meantime, though, thank you for tuning in. I have once again been your host, Joe, and this has been an impromptu whatever.